imagine watching the news and hearing that there is a serial killer on the loose? And not only that there is one, it's a pair of serial killers that commit their murders together. If so, this is the case of the toolbox killers, and if you want to know more about this case, please continue watching.
You are watching Roll a Mile in My Shoes TV.
Laura Brand was ready to meet one of America's most sadistic serial killers at San Quentin State Prison. It was 2015, and by then the criminologist had been corresponding with Lawrence Bittaker, one half of the Toolbox Killer duo, since the previous year in 2014. Her interviews with Bittaker are now the subject of a true crime documentary currently available for streaming on Peacock titled The Toolbox Killer. The special features accounts from survivors and family members, as well as Trace Whitney, Bittaker's next door neighbor. Brand told Fox News she began communicating with Bittaker in hopes that he would reveal where the bodies of Andrea Joy Hall and Lucille Sidney Lynn Schaefer could be found. And I'm pretty sure he took all the pleasure in knowing that, somebody like this would want to know something about his story. But I have to admire this reporter's, fascination, I guess I could say, or resilience to want to know where this man put these bodies, because she knows, just like other people do, that this could help the families of these victims hopefully be able to find some kind of, I guess, closure or resolve in this case, and be able to lay their loved ones to rest properly like they should be after all this time. These were very sweet young girls, just like anybody's daughter, Brand said, and I was persistent. I didn't give up. I kept trying, and Bittaker's psychopathy was very fascinating. It was almost as if he was at war with himself, she continued. He had this tortured childhood with an antisocial personality. My first in-person impression of him was that he was very awkward. He was timid. He wouldn't even look at me in the eyes for about 2.5 hours. And I think after him being locked away for so long, this was to be expected, because he wasn't in control anymore as he would have been if he was a free man out on the street, still able to continue his sick and twisted fantasies of doing what he did to these young women, like killing them and probably torturing them before he, killed them. Bittaker and his accomplice, Roy Lewis Norris, kidnapped, raped, and murdered 5 girls in 1979. The killings began that June with the death of Schaefer, 16. She was followed by Hall, 18, Jacqueline Doris Gillum, 15, Jacqueline Lee Lamp, 13, and Shirley Lynette Ledford, 16. Their nickname came from the tools they used to kill and torture their victims, including a screwdriver, pliers, and an ice pick. So this is where they get their names, the toolbox killers, from, if many people were wondering. Because when I heard of this story, I was also wondering, like, how did they get their name? Because at first I assumed, before doing research, that they probably were using tools, but also stuffing body parts of their victims in toolboxes. I know that may sound very awful and awkward, but that's what I thought before I start doing the research for this case. And the pair originally met while serving time at San Luis Obispo Men's Colony Prison in 1977. So this lets you know that their friendship already was a little bit weird, because they met while in prison, and turns out these two idiots were serial killers and they targeted young women. But Bit Taker was behind bars for stabbing a man, and Norris for committing a series of sexual assaults. The two bonded over fantasies of torture and rape. According to the documentary, Bit Taker and Norris moved to Los Angeles County after they were released on parole in 1978 and 1979. It was in 1979 that they stalked the area in a white van they called the Murder Mac. And what a name that is. They would take their victims to San Gabriel Mountains, where they would record themselves committing rape and torture. This is what the Los Angeles Times reported, by the way. The special noted that the toolbox killers were eventually caught that year after Norris bragged about the murders to a friend, who then came forward to police. And it's really strange that someone could be so sick to brag about murdering young girls, or anybody for that matter. And, I'm guessing that, Mr. Other man over here was not too happy about this, because I bet he felt like if this idiot would have kept his mouth shut, we would have still been free. But these are three of the toolbox killers, starting from the left: Shirley Lynette Leifert, and Andrea Joy Hall, and Jacqueline Lee Lamp. And it is very ashamed that these idiots took advantage of these young girls like so many others. These girls did not deserve to die, just like many of their other victims didn't deserve to. Well, all of their other victims didn't deserve to die. Just because they decided they wanted to live out some sick, twisted little fantasy, because they were evil little men with little man syndrome, I'm sure. And that's why Mr. Bit Taker, he seemed so timid and shy, because he knew he was an evil little, sick little, twisted man. Brand said, I think Bit Taker went through his life alone and full of rage, especially towards his mother. He had a lot of anger towards women. I don't think he ever had any sense of family ever. The documentary noted that the pair's final victim proved to be instrumental in ensuring that they would be put behind bars for certain. According to court documents, the men picked up Ledford, who was hitchhiking home from her job on Halloween. They drove to a secluded area and recorded themselves brutally assaulting Ledford. The tape recording has never been released to the public, and it is also horrific that jurors were left visibly shaken. I only heard a 32-second clip of the Ledford tapes, and it felt like somebody was reaching inside of me and squeezing my insides, Brand admitted. It was gut-wrenching. I was sick just from those mince seconds This was a severe case of torture for serial killers. And I have to agree, and I'm pretty sure she did not, you know, I'm pretty sure she, like the jurors that had to listen to this, was shaken up, even though she only listened to a couple of seconds of it. And these are two more of the toolbox killers' victims. From the left, Jackie Doris Gillum and Lucinda Schaefer. And just like the others, and so many others that may never be known about, like I said previously, these women didn't deserve to lose their lives, and they had their whole lives ahead of them. And I don't feel that this was right, that their lives were taken because these two little idiots decided to, kill people just to live out their sick little fantasies, because that was the only way they could do it. Brand claimed that Bit Taker had even more horrific plans before finally getting caught. He was going to buy acid to burn out the eardrums and eye sockets of his next victims. She said he was going to build an underground compound to hold girls and torture them, and he believed he had the brains to pull this off, like most serial killers, because they are, narcissists, and they believe that they have the brain and power and tools to do this, when in actuality it is so dumb that you would even kill a person in the first place. So I don't know how you think you have the smarts or the brains to do a lot of this stuff. But sadly, these serial killers, they look like normal people on the outside, so no one will ever think twice about them killing someone because they look so normal. You know the old saying that there's no honor amongst thieves, and it really shows here, because during the trial, Mr. Bittaker attempted to discredit the testimony of his confessed alleged accomplice, Ray Norris, who pleaded guilty to the killings in a deal with prosecutors to avoid the death penalty. And I think that they shouldn't have given him anything because he was in on the killings, just like Mr. Bittaker here. I think he should have gotten the same sentence, if not worse, that Mr. Bittaker got. I think the death penalty should have been given to both of these idiots. But, I'm not a judge, so I can't, I can only say that. I can't know what the judge was thinking at the time, but I guess they figured, catching both of them is better than not catching them at all. So they had to basically work with what they were given. A Los Angeles County jury convicted Bittaker of 5 counts of murder, 5 counts of kidnapping, as well as other charges, including criminal conspiracy, rape, oral compulsion, sodomy, and being an ex-felon in possession of a firearm. He was sentenced to death on March 22nd, 1981. Norris was sentenced to a term of 45 years to life. And it is good that, at least one of them did get the death penalty, so I am glad. Due to various legal challenges and court decisions, California has not executed anyone in years. In 2019, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom declared a moratorium on executions for as long as he is in office. That year, Bittaker died of natural causes at the age of 79. Norris passed away a year later at the age of 72. So I was wrong. Neither one of them got the death penalty. They both got to die in prison, which is horrible because they got to live so long, and their victims only got to live to a certain age before they was murdered. And I think that is horrible that they got to live out the rest of their life to old age. This is Brand and Lawrence Bittaker right after they did the documentary and the interview for the documentary. She said, I think it all started to sink in right before his death, but I was really worried and scared because I still wanted to search for the girls, the missing girls. Now I don't have him on the phone, and I couldn't go back and visit him to fact check some things. The documentary noted that BitTaker drew Brand a map of where he put two of his victims' bodies. Brand says she's trying to galvanize people to do a search with the information that was provided to her. According to the documents, the bodies of Schaefer and Hall were never found. Police discovered and identified the remains of Gillum and Lamp with Norris's assistance. Ledford's body was discovered shortly after she was murdered. Brand said she hopes the documentary will show audiences a whole different aspect into psychopathy. I'm really grateful that I was able to bring light to the stories of the victims, she said. With these interviews that I was able to provide, I really wanted to showcase that Sydney and Andrea were still missing. They're still out there, and it's heartbreaking. We just want closure for the families. And I do agree with her. I do believe and feel like these families do need some type of closure and be able to lay their loved ones to rest properly. And I think that, it is kind of a good thing that, Lawrence did assist in helping find two of the girls' bodies. And it's good that BitTaker did decide to try to draw the map and help Brand be able to lead her to the spot of where some of his other victims were. And hopefully she'll be able to put a search party together to go out and be able to help find these girls that are still missing, and so their families can bring them home and lay them to rest. But if you guys like this video, please don't forget to like, share, comment what your thoughts are on this case down in the comment section. And please, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the next one.